Welcome to IABC Today, the podcast of the Kansas City chapter of the International Association of Business Communicators. I'm your host, Roy Harryman.
Our guest today is Lance Yoder of Cerner, who is part of a two-person presentation team that will be joining us on Thursday morning, March 14th, to discuss online content strategy and SEO. And yes, I did say morning. It's a breakfast meeting at 7:30 a.m. at Brio on the Plaza. Lance, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Roy. I'm glad to be here.
Right. Lance is going to be joined in the presentation by Matt Dunn, also of Cerner, but who is busy doing the work of Cerner at this moment and couldn't join us here. Lance, nearly all of us are involved in creating and publishing content, and that content is overwhelmingly digital, and it's overwhelmingly on the web. What are one or two key lessons that every communicator will be able to take away from the presentation on March 14th?
Well, thanks, Roy. We're really looking forward to it, and I guess the couple things that Matt and I hope that folks really take away from this is we'll share what Cerner has done in this space, and really I would like people to understand that there really should be no one-size-fits-all strategy toward content strategy or the topic of SEO or corporate blogging. You have to find those principles that make sense and that apply to your situation, and then use your own best judgment as to how to deploy that at your organization. We'll kind of share how we worked through that when we deployed our content strategy and decided that a corporate blog was going to be a part of that, and how that relates to SEO. But I would certainly not advocate that people try necessarily to copy us, but I would hope that they can take away some principles that they could apply to their own organization. And the second thing is that sometimes these topics, while people have heard of them and read about them and to some extent maybe dip their toe in them, that folks may be afraid to try it, that they don't have the acumen or the knowledge or the skill to do it, and that may be the case, and we'll help you kind of give you some guidelines for determining that. But the second thing that I'd hope people take away is you shouldn't be afraid to try this, and especially if you maybe try it on a limited basis. Do a sort of trial, do something that's a little smaller, maybe not the entire website. Do you think you have a good idea for how to do something? Do a proof of concept on a limited scope of your site. See what works and doesn't work. What you maybe can tweak, and what you really should move forward with then to your entire organization or your entire website.
Well, I like that. One size does not fit all, but what ideas can people glean from what Cerner has learned? And then you can take a risk, but sample the risk. You don't have to be all in,
right,
just to test a new concept.
Right.
Now, Lance, some communicators warm to the idea of SEO and search terms and tags, and others are terrified. Do you need to be a web geek to apply the principles that the two of you are going to share in your talk on online content strategy and SEO?
I would say definitely not, Roy. It's important that you be educated enough on the topic and the industry, to know what you're doing. And the good thing about the content strategy world and the SEO world is there are so many just free resources out there. They're very sharing communities. The web is a sharing space. People that are doing good work want to share those principles and things that have worked with others. So no, you definitely do not need to be a self-described guru in any way to try any of this. No, folks should not feel like they have spent a lifetime in these spaces to get something out of our talk. And probably they would benefit most from it if they haven't. Somebody that spends all of their work time on these topics, I would hope they still find it useful, but they may not glean as much of it as somebody who's maybe done some of it or is interested in learning more. Those types of folks would probably gain more from it.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And I know for a fact that you don't have to be a web geek or a geek at all to excel in online content strategy and SEO, because when I first met Lance, he was a budding young sports writer, And Lance, you're obviously resilient and adaptive. And back in the day when you were hanging out in the end zone, I'm sure you had no clue that one day you would make your living working in SEO and giving talks for Cerner on it.
Absolutely not. I could not have dreamed that, Roy, and you're absolutely right. The good news is for communicators, the skills that we have, or at its foundation, being able to write, being able to communicate, being able to understand what makes good writing, what makes good content, and what does not, that is something that is needed and is highly valuable, whether you're in the traditional print or newspaper world, or whether you're now in this new world of online content. The tactics, how it's actually done, some of the specifics change, but if you have those foundational skills, you need those. Those are an absolute necessity. And as long as somebody is willing to learn new things, to think, to understand, be willing to understand how their business can align with their website goals and what that means and what's involved with that, the foundational skills of communication they play well in any medium.
That's right, Lance. And I understand that the two of you have gained most of the insight that you're going to share here, not from theory or reading or research, but from hands-on experience in the huge project that was the relaunch of Cerner.com.
That's correct, Roy. You learn things by doing them, and that's what we're going to be basing a lot of our talk on is our experiences having actually gone through that. Now, there were plenty of good resources that we both leaned on during this process. Like I said, the content strategy space, I'm so thankful that the people who are industry leaders in it are willing to share information. And I've contacted some of the directly the big names in content strategy, and a lot of them make stuff available on the web for free or a very minimal cost. They are also, a lot of them are willing to answer one-off questions that you have as you're going through things. So yeah, it's definitely a collaborative process, but you absolutely it's one of those things where you learn it by doing. I think back to the days of journalism, and it was always good to hear principles or concepts in class, but you learn far more when you're actually out doing it and having to react to real life situations, and this topic is no different.
And finally, Lance, I understand that you and Matt are going to give us some insight into the secret ways of Google. Can you give us a hint at what you're going to be sharing about on that topic?
Yeah, I would caution that I doubt we're going to present anything on that's going to be truly revealing about Google. We don't pretend to know the secret sauce or anything like that. And, actually, the position that we will really take is that we're going to be, your best bet is to focus on the things that you can control. And for us, it was making content that is valuable, what we consider valuable for our visitors or users of our website. Think of them first. What information about your company or about what you're writing about is going to be useful to those people. And then as a second order effect, SEO should improve as you do that. And we will have the stats in our case to back that up. Before we went through this, we were seeing we were seeing less than 20% of our site traffic coming from organic search. And today we're averaging between 35 and 40% of our visitors per month via search. And in the raw numbers as well have gone exponentially up. Not only are we getting a greater percentage of our visitors from search, but overall visitors to our website have gone up dramatically in the last couple of years. Now, part of that is due in great part to just greater awareness of Cerner, out there in the world beyond Kansas City. So people, whether they be job seekers or investors or whatever, as electronic health records gain more traction in the kind of the national thinking, people are doing searches on Cerner more and more. So I don't pretend that all of that growth is due to just our awesomeness, but as I think we are prepared we were prepared to handle greater interest in healthcare IT and greater interest in Cerner, so that when people went out and did those searches, they could find us and come to our site.
Well, I would have been perfectly happy just to believe it was all due to your awesomeness. But,
no, we don't want to. We might be awesome, but I wouldn't want to misrepresent ourselves. We wouldn't want to go all Ron Burgundy on people and pretend like we're a big deal or something.
Sure. Well, this is going to be a great practical case study, I can tell, and I want to encourage everybody to just go to the podcast notes on your screen, either in iTunes or on YouTube or on the KCIABC blog, wherever you happen to be listening or viewing this podcast, and find out how to register. Click on the registration link for Thursday morning, March 14th, breakfast at Brio on the Plaza with Matt Dunn and Lance Yoder, online content strategy and SEO. Thanks again, Lance.
Thanks, Roy.
Thanks for joining us for KCIABC Today. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes as well as our YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to receive automatic updates on both. Learn more about us at kc.iabc.com. Thanks again.